Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, August 11th, 2025, and the time now is 6 p.m. and I will call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. In accordance with the town's remote participation and remote meeting policy adopted by the Board of Trustees on March 13th, 2023, by resolution number 21-R-2023, remote participation will be allowed. The meeting link has been provided on the town's website and designated posting place hours prior to the meeting. I'd like to remind everyone present, both in person and virtually, of the town's general guidelines for public comment at open meetings and public hearings. The guidelines are available online and on the entry table. There are two public comment opportunities on the agenda for persons in attendance at Town Hall to address the board. The first is limited to items on the agenda, and the second public comment opportunity allows any subject, whether it is on the agenda or not, to be addressed. If you have comments regarding the public hearing item, please bring those comments at that time. Marisol, roll call, please.
Mayor Willow.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Here.
Trustee Cartwright.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Here.
Trustee Crane.
Here.
Trustee Hagan.
Here.
Trustee Schranz.
Here.
Mayor Willow, today is Monday, August 11th, 2025, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Marisol. With the school year starting this week, please join me in a moment of silence in remembrance of children, teachers, and first responders who have suffered or died in a school related tragedy. Thank you for your time. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your time. Next is review and approve agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? And hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as is?
I move to approve the agenda as is.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Marisol.
Trustee Schranz.
Yes.
Trustee Adams.
Yes.
Trustee Hagan.
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Willow.
Yes. Thank you very much. We have an agenda for this evening. Next is our staff report by our town manager. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustees, you have my report. There's a couple items that I just wanted to add that happened over the weekend that we're happy to know. First of all, County Road 28 is open. If any of you have been over there, all the signs have been removed. I drove it today. You can barely tell they were working on it. They did a nice patch on the road. It wasn't, you know how sometimes when they work on the road, there's like a big bump, but that work is done. And then you'll notice that Welker is open up in front of the school. So they paved on Saturday. They got a lot of paving done. So I was excited because when I got back to DIA last night and drove through that storm, and all I could think about is if they didn't get that paving done on Saturday, I was afraid it was going to be so wet it might have been trouble for today. But anyways, both those roads are open, so school can open on Wednesday. I have a little flyer I'm just going to pass around. This is on the public meeting that is going to be held on Wednesday. I don't know if any of you heard about this, but it is a neighborhood meeting for what's called the North Mead Place. It's a comp plan amendment. It's just north of Mead Place, which is under construction right now. Small 200-acre site. And they're be going to the Planning Commission on the 20th of August, where this will be heard. But part of the application, Jason required that they do a public meeting and they sent out flyers. And just in case anybody asks you about it, I was just going to pass this around so you know that it's happening at the Catholic Church from 6 to 7 on Wednesday. So Marcus, and that's really all my updates to my report.
Okay, questions or comments for Helen? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Helen, for your time. Next is one of three informational items for tonight. The first is our police education campaign, and we have not Lorelei, but Kim.
Lorelei like to be here, but I'm happy to give you a quick. Then Chief and his team have been out in the community, really talking to people and trying to listen, better understand what questions they had for this organization and specifically the police department. And so I just wanted to maybe go over some key themes or some learnings that we've had in this time period. This is so consistent, but I think it's worth reiterating. There's strong support for police and public safety in Mead. Your officers in particular are very well liked. They're very well respected. And honestly, they are the best messengers that we have when we're talking about our needs of the police department. And there's a need for more information. So regardless of what this body decides to do in regards to elections coming forward, the community really does want to better understand exactly what are the needs of our police department. And to the third point, not in the way that we traditionally speak about it in terms of dollars and cents. They want to hear exactly what are these real life examples of the challenges that your police department are facing because of the funding challenges that they have. It's not about the funding, it's about the impact of the funding. So what did we do with all this information? I think the biggest shift in strategy for us was to have the police department tell their own story. And yes, in the past, we've done some videos where we've asked officers to talk about funding, talk about needs, talk about this. But what we did this time was just stop scripting it and just ask the questions. What do you need? What makes your job harder? What do you love? And what we wanted to do is share that authentic communication from the officers themselves. It's direct language, and they're talking about real consequences to both their lives and their jobs. And we'll give some examples here in a moment, but I think it's really powerful. It's really authentic. And again, this group of people are so committed to their work, and they're just sharing what makes it harder for them. We're both showing and telling, so it's not just us talking about it. We actually want to show folks what that looks like. So what does that mean? It means more videos. It means shorter videos. It means wider distribution. It means continued efforts with print collateral and events. And it really is about trying to sort of expand the way we tell this story. And then finally, it's sustained outreach. I know one of the biggest concerns from the last time that we all sat here together was, well, heck, if we don't decide to go forward with a ballot initiative, are we just not going to talk about this because the needs are here regardless? And so our commitment and through the commitment of the police department, we really have pushed outreach this entire summer. And we're going to continue to do that until any ballot language is set. What you'll see from all of this outreach, it's not just about the perspectives of the police department. We want to brand this as a police department initiative because that's what it is. I think sometimes we get a little bit conflated between town priorities and police priorities. And what we really wanted to do is shift the way this looks, shift the way this feels, and shift the way this sounds to be police centric. All right, so what have we been up to? We've done a bunch of direct mail. So we did the first postcard, which was about, hey, what did we hear initially? And then talked more plainly about our needs. We have a letter from the chief going out. Lorelei's not here this week, I believe. And then we're doing a second postcard that's going to talk once again about needs and the path forward. We've had several flyers. Chief and his team have been at so many events. They're out in the community. They're just talking with people about their jobs and what they need. And then we also have developed a series of short videos. 8 of which I'm going to show you tonight. Yes, I'm going to make you sit through all 8 of them, but they're really good. And it's really, I don't know, I think it's refreshing to hear directly from the police department. So we're going to watch those. And then we're working on one that I love is a tour of the facility. One of the things that we have noticed is that when people see the facility, in person, they realize how inadequate it is. But honestly, and I think I can speak for most of us, we really don't want to see the inside of a police department. And so we're trying to find ways to actually show and tell. So Marisol, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask for your help in technology here. And we'll be playing all 8 of these. They're very short, I promise.
The reality is we can have it where we are on a very serious traffic accident, and we do have what's called secondary accidents. They call us, they expect us to get there within a reasonable amount of time, and the reality is that if there is no injuries, if there's no immediate threat to the person or the property, and we have something else that is an immediate threat, we're not going to be there until we handle that something else. We don't have the manpower, we don't have the staffing to get to at this moment.
Typically, a strategy you can use for community policing would be to put an officer on a beat. All right, we might assign them to a neighborhood where they have the ability to get out, be on foot, interact on a day-to-day basis with residents. When your staffing is limited, sometimes it's very difficult to prioritize that community engagement piece. If you see a familiar face on a regular basis, you'll, and maybe over several weeks, but you could develop a relationship with that individual where you feel comfortable in approaching them and talking to them, or bringing up issues that you may not normally.
It's practically unheard of usually to have a department that only has 1 man per shift or 1 officer per shift, because it is unsafe for the officer. Our backup is Weld County, it's Platteville, or it's Firestone, which means that we're looking at a 5-minute ETA for emergent coverage at minimum, unless they're right next door.
When it comes down to population, we want to have, when we start getting above 1,000, we start looking at availability issues. Having a 1-to-1 ratio would be phenomenal. It would be great. It would allow that opportunity for that officer to get in there and engage more readily with the kids, be involved and have that environment, have that daily interaction. I would love to see 1 SRO for each school. Something comes up and they can rely on each other. It's just 1 more extra body on the ground to do what needs to get done.
If we have a call just right around here where somebody has to go up to the jail is on the furthest north side of Greeley on O Street. Most of the time when I'm working, I'm by myself from 6 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. To get up to the jail in Greeley, it's at least 40 to 45 minutes away just of drive time. We could be anywhere from an hour upwards to 3.5 or 4 hours, where then that leaves the town with no coverage unless one of the other surrounding agencies or the county is willing to come help us out.
The reality of my shift is that it shouldn't exist. It exists because we don't have enough people to have more than 1 person on each shift. When I'm working the day shift followed by the night shift, it really does impact my ability to, 1, stay safe on the road, but the biggest one as well is to give the level of service to the community that I intend to. We are all here because we want to do our best. We want to give to this community as best as we can. When we don't have a schedule that allows us to get the rest we need to stay sharp, to be able to think through complex problems, it impacts our ability to provide that.
Geographically is fairly large in terms of the square miles that we cover. So depending on if we are on the west side of town and we get a call out east, it could be over 10 minutes, depending on traffic or the type of response that we're providing before we get there. If, you had more officers available, you could appropriately utilize those resources and put them in areas where they'd be assigned to like a district. So then you could effectively cut your response times in half or at least or to a third of what they might be currently. The quicker we can intervene, especially on something serious, then there's a higher likelihood that we can provide aid or some sort of help to somebody that they may need sooner than later.
My biggest concern is just that in itself, the safety of the community. There's been multiple instances in the time that I've been working here in Mead where I myself have been on my way to the jail and there's been a rollover, possible injuries, or an ejection crash that comes out on Highway 66 or I-25, being that we have 10 miles of that. And I've had to ask the dispatchers, hey, can you have the fire department just stay there until I get back? When people call, they expect us to show up. And it's not a lack of that we don't care, but it's just we don't have the means to do that.
Did everybody? I lost count in there. Okay. Thank you for taking the time to watch all of those. As you can see, they are really short. They're very candid, and they're truly the words of your officers talking about what they need to make this community safe. Those are supplemental to other things. You won't see those just by themselves, but they'll be out on social media. We really tried to make them short so we don't lose people's attention throughout this process. And again, I would just like to give kudos to Chief and his team for their willingness to talk, just as I said, candidly to their community members, to their peers, and just speak to what they need and really what they require to do the job that they want to do for Mead. So now what? Oh, there. Oh, nope, you don't get discussion yet. Oh, here we go. All right. So we want to finish this campaign. As I mentioned, these videos are produced and we're rolling them out and pushing them on social. The chief and his team will be at events again throughout the summer. We're going to continue this conversation, not only talking about needs, but then talking about the impact of those needs. Based on your consideration of what you would like to do as a governing body, that conversation either continues and they will continue to answer questions and speak their mind and talk about needs and potential solutions. Or if indeed you choose to put this issue on the ballot as an ask to voters, you've been through this before. Police department and town staff kind of take a step back in terms of communications. You, of course, as private citizens, have every right to share your opinion. Marcus, make sure I don't get myself in trouble, but so far I think I'm good. And then, of course, if there's a private citizen committee, they may or may not take the mantle and run from there. Both options are actually doesn't change our strategy in terms of what we're talking about. And I think, as I mentioned before, what we're really trying to do is be responsive to the questions we've heard, the way people receive information, and how we can best tell. Actually better, not how we can tell, how we can empower the police department to talk about what they need. Now, do you have any questions or comments?
Questions, comments? Trustee Adams, do you have any questions or comments for Kim tonight?
No, I don't. Great presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Nothing? Okay.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. All right, let's move on to our Third and Welker intersection project. Our town engineer, public works director, Erica Rasmussen, has the floor. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and trustees. While Marisol gets that pulled up, you've seen, I'm sure, that the intersection at Third and Welker is starting to take shape. And so we thought it might be a good time to kind of point out some of the features and the changes that you'll be seeing coming very soon. Quick reminder just on the funding, Jalisco is our contractor. Their contract is 5.9 million. And we have received close to $4 million in other funding of that 5.9, which is fantastic. So we have the congressional directed $1 million that we got through Congresswoman Carveo. We have the MMOF, which I had to look up, Multimodal Transportation Mitigation Options Fund, and 1.2 million from Mira. Big picture scope of work, we've got left and right turn lanes going in there, medians, lots of sidewalk connections on all sides, some regional drainage improvements that are actually out of our master plan that are getting done with this project. Our very first traffic signal, we resurfaced 2 of the railroad crossings so they can accommodate pedestrian travel. And then a variety of utility relocations and overhead power undergrounding efforts. All right, so this may look familiar to you. This graphic is something I pulled out, actually, if you can believe it, back from our original presentations in 2021. So you can see it takes a long time for these things to get through all of the design efforts and funding and finally reach construction. But the layout is very much the same. Let's see, do I have a pointer on here, Marisol? Okay. Well, let's do this. So just for orientation, north is to the right. In this particular graphic, sort of large white square there in the middle is the concrete intersection. And then those brown medians are on all the variety of legs. And I'll talk about each of these a little bit in more detail. And we can come back to this. I was hoping to just point to it, but I do have it in words so that just for this kind of occasion. All right, so what's different? On that, we're going to start on that southwest quadrant, which is where Guardian Angels Church is. On eastbound Welker, as you're approaching the intersection, we have both left and right turn lanes. Those are new. We'll have new sidewalk to the west across the Welker Railroad tracks. We already do have existing trail that goes to the south, all the way down towards Adams. The sidewalk west of the railroad tracks will be as part of our Safe Routes to School project. So there will still be a little bit of gap there on the school frontage, but it's just funded a little bit differently. So it'll be coming a little different timing there. We do have a median there, which restricts left turns in and out of the post office. We eliminated one access for the church, which is on the north side of that old church building. They're not using it today, but when we started this project, there was actually an access point there, and we're still allowing full movement at the southern access point. And then, of course, we're adding bike lanes on eastbound Welker and southbound 3rd. Moving over to the southeast quadrant, which is the vacant farmland, and northbound 3rd Street, we'll be adding left and right turn lanes at that location. On that corner, you'll only see pedestrian ramps. We don't have any sidewalk or pedestrian facilities on that corner. And the expectation is that a developer at some point will be putting those in as part of their development. And at this point in time, they don't go anywhere. So really, there's just 2 ramps there to receive people so they can cross on all corners of the intersection. And bike lanes there as well, northbound 3rd and eastbound Welker. Moving over to the northeast quadrant, which is where Ziggy's is located. Westbound Welker, as you approach the intersection, we've got a left turn lane. There is a right turn lane there today. So that won't be new. It's just going to move position a little bit. We've got a widened sidewalk east of 2nd Street and a new sidewalk to the north across the 3rd Street railroad tracks. That'll go all the way north to tie into our existing trail just across the street here at Boulder Scientific. We have a median on Welker that will restrict left turns at 2nd Street. We're maintaining full turning movements at both Ziggy's and at Dillingham, which is directly across from Agfinity. And then bike lanes there, westbound Welker and northbound 3rd. And by the way, those bike lanes we'll just be merged with traffic at the limits of our project until such time that the roadways are improved beyond our limits and that bike lane can be extended. Moving to the northwest quadrant, which is the Agfinity convenience store. Southbound 3rd Street, as you approach the intersection, we have a left turn lane. There's no dedicated right turn lane here. There's just be a through lane and a right combined. There's room there should we need to put that in at some future time in the landscape parkway strip, but it wasn't required now just based on the traffic analysis. We've got new sidewalk to the west across the railroad tracks on Welker, all the way to Main Street, and then north from the intersection on 3rd Street, all the way up here to the community center and the main town park. Medians there, as I mentioned, restrict left turns in and out of the post office. We are maintaining full access again at Ziggy's and Agfinity. Little tidbit here, we're adding some on-street parking, westbound Welker. There's about 6 or 8 spaces there. That's just on the Agfinity frontage. And then bike lanes southbound and westbound there. So you might be wondering where all those various configurations came from. And they come straight out of our design standards. This is actually a graphic out of our transportation plan specific to that DMU zoning district for downtown. And you can see it looks a little bit different than maybe some of our other cross sections, right? We've got a very wide amenity zone on the outside, which has sidewalk going right up to the building faces. There's an area there for tree grates, maybe bike racks or benches. We have some on-street parking, through lanes, and then a pretty good sized median there as well. Now, this doesn't fit everywhere, right? We have limitations. We have existing businesses, we have real estate that would have had to be procured and relocated, people and businesses that simply just didn't fit within our budget. So to the best of our ability, we've tried to fit this in where we can. And then as the puzzle pieces of other developments come in, that'll fill in the gaps. I just wanted to show you what the median cover would look like. So at the moment, we have the medians will just be concrete. And there'll be this colored checkerboard sort of pattern that you see here. This is what's in front of Mead Town Center right now. And it's elsewhere on 4th Street. And we put it in on County Road 9.5 recently as part of that development out there. That's what's in the median there. So some consistency throughout there. All right, and I'll leave you with this photo here from this weekend, from a drone shot this weekend. So just to get you oriented, the drone is sort of over the church. You can see Ziggy's right smack in the middle, and you can see a nice new black asphalt pavement that they were able to accomplish this weekend. So we are getting closer and closer, which is great news, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, questions, Jeremiah?
You're talking about consistency. I was just wondering, are we going to keep up with the consistency on the sidewalk curb cuts with the ADA and the braille and all that stuff? On the sidewalks when you come to streets?
For the, you're talking about the truncated domes?
Oh, when the sidewalks come to the intersection and the streets and stuff, is it gonna be the same that you guys were putting around town with the ADA curb cuts and the braille?
Yeah,
They will be, okay.
the braille is throwing me. Are you talking about?
The little
The
bumpy
handicaps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the handy, yes, the
Yep.
ADA, okay.
They will all
okay,
be there.
Okay, great.
Sharon, yeah, go ahead.
Can I make the assumption that all of these left turn lanes are going to be protected lefts?
And by protected, you mean
Have a
the
light.
signal?
Have its own light for left turns?
I will have to double check. I think so, but I need to look at the signal plan to be sure.
Okay.
So looking at your little map, It looks like the entrance to Ziggy's is about as far as the entrance to the post office. So I'm just curious, why did we decide to make the post office a right in, right out only? But Ziggy's, we didn't restrict at all because their distances from the intersection look to be pretty identical.
Yeah.
So what was that? Why did we
Yeah,
decide that?
neither one of them meet our criteria. And ideally, we'd have medians everywhere on an arterial, except where there's a road intersection. Like I said, it doesn't always fit everywhere. The primary reason for the one at the post office is because we have this added complication of the railroad track. And so, well, I should say twofold. The railroad track is one. The railroad, we had to, get permission from the Public Utilities Commission, and we had shown it in this way. They don't like driveways that close to their tracks. And if you were to build the post office today, it would never be allowed at that location. The second thing is if you were, say you're westbound and you want to turn left into the post office, there could be cars stacking up behind you. And now we're going to have a signalized intersection at 3rd and Walker, right? And so we don't want those cars to be backing up into the intersection and say there's cars in the intersection and the light turns, right? We have a conflict point there. So I'd say that's probably even more important than the railroad track.
Okay. All right.
Chris.
I'm gonna follow that same line on the railroad. Are we going to have some sort of signage that says post office, drive up, turn left, so you can get across that median and turn? It's gonna be 3 lefts if you're.
Yeah,
going
you'll have to
northbound.
go, yep, they'll have to go around the block.
So if are we planning on that, having some sort of
Um,
signage?
I had not, but we certainly could look into that. Mhm.
I foresee it as being, people are gonna be very upset when they turn that corner and they can't make that left-hand turn.
Yes.
And then they're going to go right on Main Street and they're gonna make a U-turn and they're gonna come back down Main Street to be able to get across. And I think we need to try and nip that in the bud if we.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. And we don't have signs for restricting U-turns at this point in our plan, but it may come to that if it becomes problematic. I did drive it if you were to go, because I had a call from the post office attorney this week from Washington, DC. And she was concerned about their trucks and access. And it's 4 blocks if you go all the way around without making a U-turn. I drove it, it's 2 minutes. So it's,
Without
the impact is, yes,
In the middle
that
of
was
the day.
today with no
Okay.
light, right?
So after school starts, it won't be 4 minutes.
Well, it probably wouldn't be 2 minutes to turn left out of there either when school starts.
Okay. I can just see it becoming everybody going up the street, everybody turning left to the community center, everybody coming all the way back down that
Yeah.
has to go to the post office. And if we don't tell people
How to,
that's the way to go, they're not going to do that.
sure,
I,
good point.
Trustee Adams, do you have any questions or comments for Erica tonight?
I think they've already been addressed, so no, I do not.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much
Thank
for your time tonight. All right, we'll move on to our regional housing needs assessment by our Community Development Director, Jason Bradford.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees. Thank you for your time this evening. I am going to give you a brief explanation of the requirement for the town of Mead to do a housing needs assessment and our approach to that. So as you are all aware, the Sustainable Affordable Housing Assistance Act was passed by the state legislature in last year, 2024. That requires all local jurisdictions to complete the following things as they relate to housing. Number one, we need to complete a housing needs assessment. And the other thing that we need to do is a housing action plan. And a housing action plan includes strategies for providing affordable housing, dealing with displacement and mitigation or mitigating displacement issues, requiring adequate water supply for housing, and then a strategic growth plan. The purpose of these plans is to address challenges for housing in Colorado and providing housing for people of all various budgets. And each local community needs to identify and analyze their local unique housing needs, and then make an action plan to address those needs, and then implement whatever growth strategies are identified in their housing action plan. So the first and most immediate portion of this is the housing needs assessment. That housing needs assessment, per the legislation that the state passed, requires that any local community that does a housing needs assessment, that housing needs assessment must conform to the methodology and requirements that were identified in that statute. And those methodologies and requirements were developed by DOLA. And then Mead or any other local community has the option to either participate in a regional housing needs assessment that DRCOG completed, or we can develop our own. Once that housing needs assessment is established, then the next step would be for the town of Mead to complete a housing, that housing need assessment plan, should we either participate in the DRCOG one or do our own, is due by the end of next year, 2026. And then that housing needs assessment will need to be updated every 6 years after that. As I mentioned, one of the steps in our housing action plan is to include strategic growth plan and water supply elements, and that must be a part of our comprehensive plan. And that needs to be completed by the end of next year, 2026. And that specific portion of the comp plan needs to be updated every 5 years. The housing action plan. So that is the next step. After we do our housing needs assessment, then the next step is the housing action plan. And that also must conform to the methodology and requirements that were identified in the state statute and follow DOLA's methodology. What does that plan need to address? It needs to address standards for affordability, both in the short term and long term, and also address displacement mitigation. So how do we mitigate people being priced out or losing their homes? And that particular housing action plan, that will need to be submitted to DOLA or the state by January 1st of 2028. And then that plan will need to be updated every 6 years. The state has provided some grant funding to help communities with these efforts. There's the Housing Needs Planning Technical Assistance Fund, which is through the Housing Grant Program that would provide us with money to help in these efforts. And these grants are available to municipalities that comply with the state requirements, including the adoption of all those plans that I highlighted. The housing needs assessment, that's the first one. The housing action plan, and then an updated comprehensive plan. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Denver Regional Council of Governments, or I call it DRCOG, has prepared a regional housing needs assessment that does comply with those state requirements. And Mead has the option to use that report that was developed by DRCOG as our own local housing needs assessment plan, rather than conducting our own housing needs assessment plan. As you probably can imagine, if the town of Mead were to prepare our own housing needs assessment report, that requires significant time, expertise, money, and resources. And for those reasons, staff recommends that we, the town of Mead, participate in the plan that DRCOG has already conducted on a regional level. And they have broken down that information by all the local communities. So we can simply use that data that DRCOG has prepared through their own planning efforts. The only thing we need to do in order to participate in DRCOG's Regional Housing Needs Assessment Report is review their report at a public meeting, which is the meeting that we're having right now. All of the documents were included in your packet. So we provided a staff report and then various reports, including the legislation that the state passed last year. And then submit, if we want to participate in DRCOG's report, all we need to do is submit comments, and Marcus and his team prepared a resolution assuming that we move forward with utilizing the data that DRCOG has already prepared, and that would be my recommendation to you. I know the packet that I prepared has a lot of information in it. I'm assuming you all probably skimmed through most of that, but I am happy to answer any questions should you have any. But again, I think what I'm saying is, rather than Mead going forward and doing our own housing needs assessment, which would be a very expensive and timely endeavor, and would really probably require the expertise of a consultant that has expertise in housing. At this point, my recommendation would be to utilize that data that was prepared by DRCOG, and then we can get started on the next phase of this legislation, which is coming up with our own housing action plan. All right, so that's the end of my presentation, but like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Let me go to my far right and go to my left. Trustee Hagan.
I guess I just wonder what the net effect of adopting the DRCOG plan is versus doing our own. What would be the benefit of doing our own?
Yeah, I think one, it saves a lot of time because the data has already been prepared. It's been done by experts who have expertise in housing. In order to do our own housing needs assessment that meets all those methodologies that the state requires, would really require the town hiring a consultant to do that study for us, somebody with expertise.
But is the net effect, they're saying that we need to approve a certain amount of multifamily low-income housing? You know, that's been a ongoing thing we've talked about, is whether that's going to be incorporated into our comp plan.
Yep. So the data simply, at this point, all the data from DRCOG says is how many housing units the town of Mead needs to provide, but it doesn't break it down. It breaks it down by the various area median income levels, how many units the town would need to provide by those area median income levels. So yes, in whether we did it on our own or if we adopt the DRCOG data, that housing needs assessment is intended to say, one, how many housing units does the town need to approve in order to meet these state regulations, and what percentage should be in each of those.
So by code, is that going to require landowners to have a minimum amount of a certain amount of housing Or how does the town actually effectuate that out into the community?
That would
People
be,
own land.
yep, that would be the next step. The housing action plan will come up with the strategies for how do we accomplish this, right? How do we build all of these housing units that are required? And how do we make sure that we have enough houses in each of those area median income levels? So the strategies will be that larger effort of the housing action plan. Right now, the only thing before us is the housing needs assessment, which is how many units do we need and in which.
So the state is forcing, well, the state is asking us to adopt this, and then we will force private landowners to develop their land in a certain way.
There's all sorts of different strategies the town can use. That's what would be determined with that action plan. It's not going to be, I think the idea of forcing a developer to do something they don't want to do, I think is somewhat misleading. I think in basically the town has this requirement to create X number of housing units. How do we accomplish that? Is it supplementing? Is it subsidizing housing? Is it providing maybe some development benefits or some incentives for developers to do that on their own? Does the town establish a housing department or something? There's all sorts of different strategies, and that's what a consultant will help us determine what's best for Mead. And of course, the town, the board members will have an opportunity to provide their input on what is the best strategy for Mead specifically.
Slippery slope.
Go ahead.
I'm seeing this as a very complex subject. I think we have known that some of this stuff was coming down the pipe for a while. We are now being asked to make some fairly significant changes in our ideologies and what we have going on in the town and how we're going to do that. I'm a little, and I will apologize ahead of time. I've not read through all the stuff that you have put through there. But the first thing that I came up with on one of your first slides is affordability, and who the hell defines that and what is it? And I'm nervous about having or adopting somebody else's plans. I'm not moving down that road comfortably at all. I don't see this whole subject as having some sort of an umbrella plan that covers everything for everybody. I think it's going to be unique to Mead.
Yes.
So, I'm concerned about the timeframes, the deadlines that we need to complete. If you use the Dr. thing, we have to have some sort of commitment by September. Hell, that's only 6 weeks
I don't
away.
think it matters whether we use the Dr. thing or not. We have to have that regardless.
Yeah, but we have until December 26th for one of them. But if you use Dr. you have to.
Submit comments.
Submit comments, yeah. If we choose to adopt the Dr.
Right, but that's,
okay.
That doesn't leave a whole lot of time to even identify the questions you want to ask. There's so many questions around this thing that I couldn't even begin to write anything down. It's going to be a complex thing, and I think it's going to require a little bit more studying. And I agree we need to get started right away. And I also agree it's going to be complex and hard and difficult, but I'd like to see the town of Mead, be in charge of its own destiny, if you will. Get some of these definitions and begin to make whatever that assessment is and however it's going to go. Otherwise, I just fear we're going to just fall in line and just become another soldier.
Mr. Grant, let me maybe try to simplify what's being asked. of the board tonight. The Senate bill that Jason referred to does have two requirements, right? One is each jurisdiction has to adopt its own standalone housing needs assessment, and that has to be done by the end of this year. The alternative is jurisdictions can simply participate in the regional assessment that DRCOG has already completed. There's not a formal adoption of the regional housing needs assessment that's being requested of the board. The statutory requirement is simply that that plan has to be submitted to the board within a defined 60-day period of time, which is the July 14th to September 12th, 2025. So we're currently within that 60-day window. So we're presenting this regional housing needs assessment to you. And if we just decide to participate in that, which the long and the short of it is the regional housing needs assessment looks at the entire DRCOG area, right? And they say within that area, by 2050, the Denver metro area is going to need another 500,000 housing units, period, right? We don't know how, there's nothing in that housing needs assessment that has to do specifically with the town of Mead. I guess you could look at it and you could say, well, the town of Mead is located within the northern sub-area. And the northern sub-area projects that we need about 30,000 housing units or 39,000 housing units within the next 10 years. But Mead is just a small portion of that northern sub-area. Again, you're not being asked to formally adopt this. This is being presented to you. And if you elect to accept the presentation of this regional housing needs assessment, then that kind of exempts the town from having to do its own standalone housing needs assessment, which, as set forth in the report, comes with a cost of approximately $50,000 to $150,000. And that data is based on Helen checking in with other managers in other comparable sized towns and also some work that Jason did.
I understand it's a complex issue.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I heard and what I saw is that this assessment needs to be completed, right?
Oh, it needs to be completed unless the town elects to.
And that's my point.
Accept the presentation of the.
My point is that I don't know that I am comfortable using somebody else's data for this town. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so you're telling me we have the option of doing the housing assessment ourselves, or we can incorporate what DRCOG has put out.
That's correct. And if you elect to do your own study,
we can do either of those two things.
Right. And it's going to be about $50,000 to $150,000.
Let's not talk the money into it yet. Okay. Because it's going to cost money no matter what you do, how you do it, unless you just roll over and say, just tell me what to do and when to do it. It's important to me for the town of Mead to have some sort of management and input into what's going to go on here in regards to this whole subject.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And that's really part two of this process, which we're not talking about tonight. Part two of the process is the ultimate adoption of the housing action plan. And the deadline for that is not until 2028. So there's plenty of time to look at, what strategies might work best for the town in order to advance some of these regional goals.
Okay, let me do this. I hear what you are saying, but I want to go on record that I'm not comfortable with what needs to be done in the timeframes that are provided. I think it's a bigger challenge than we think it is. I think it's going by 2028. I think we're going to be knee deep in a lot of stuff.
So let me interject just a little bit. I am your DRCOG representative and have worked on this assessment for over a year. I have put lots of hours and have dedicated much time to this on behalf of the town of Mead. And I know what the data has behind it. And if you would like to go down to DRCOG with me, I would ask to come with me and we could go walk through what we've been through for a year and a half. But I have been through this as your representative, and I wholeheartedly would suggest that we move forward because we're going to have the same outcome no matter what. We take this assessment or we work on our own and tragically work on this for a year and a half and have this basic outcome that we need 200 homes in the town of Mead in the next 50 years. That's the end of it. That's the goal of 250 homes approximately in several years down the road. So I'm just letting you know that I have been working on this on your behalf and the town's behalf as a representative through the year and a half. So,
And with all due respect, I'm
yeah,
not.
no, I just want to let you
Shot
know.
at that.
Yeah, I just want to let
I'm
you
just
know.
very passionate about this particular subject.
Yeah, I know you are.
And I know that this is something that needs to be done. And I would like to see us do it correctly, first time out. Okay? And I apologize, I've not looked at all the data that has out there. And I'm sure, no doubt in my mind, you've done a great job. It's just a very passionate subject for me.
I understand. And it doesn't really, it creates the check mark that the legislation has done to us. And I'm not saying that this next legislation session will do more check boxes for us. But we have to abide by the law by these certain dates. And this assessment has taken a lot of time and is the first one that DOLA has accepted in the state. So, so I just wanted to give you just some background. I'm sorry to steal some thunder, but it's been many hours in working with Sheila Lynch down in the planning department down there. So I just want to give you a little context though, Herman. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah. And yeah, okay.
Okay, so where are we at now?
Yeah, so basically the question before you is, should we, the town of Mead, participate in the study that was done by Dr. Cog?
When you say participate,
Right.
what does that mean?
That means Dr. Cog has already done a study of, for the region, how many housing units need to be constructed in the next 50 years.
Well, that's not a participation, that's an acceptance of what Dr. Cog has already decided we needed to do. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's accurate. So it's if you look at, and maybe you need more time to look over some of the documents, but all the numbers are already included. And to the mayor's point, the state required certain methodologies that we would have to follow, whether we participate in Dr. Cog's study or do our own. The data is going to be essentially identical. So I don't know that, I think my recommendation would be to focus on the housing action plan. And that's where we can define what is right for the town of Mead for how to implement these housing units that need to be constructed. Right now, it's just saying, here's the raw number of housing units that need to be constructed in the next 50 years.
Okay, I can accept that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
You remember who you're gonna?
Yes, so we're in the process of looking at our comprehensive plan, right? So are we already thinking about this and how it affects our comp plan, or
Well,
we're not quite there yet?
yeah,
You doing?
we're not there yet. And we will need to update or amend our comprehensive plan to address these very issues. But this is new for us. And so I think it's going to require a fairly significant amendment to our comprehensive plan. But as Mark has pointed out, we have some time to do that.
Right.
And this really, we're already planning on amending our comprehensive
Right.
plan,
I
right?
thought we were about to, were we going to start that next year, or when we're doing the transportation plan? Anyways, okay. So I get the legislation's idea behind this, but I'm really confused. And I don't even know if this is the time or the place to even get all the answers to this, but how in the world are we in the least bit responsible for water supply to housing developments in our area?
Yeah, it's just coming up with a plan. What is the plan? Just identifying, basically what the state wants the local communities to do is to say, hey, if you need to create X number of housing units in the next 50 years, where will that water come from?
But how is that even our problem? a developer has to provide the water for their own development.
Yep, and that'll probably be our answer, right? Is that the developer is required to go on the private market, purchase water shares, just like we do now, but we just need to identify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have
Right.
Little Thompson. It's really through Little Thompson, right?
Yeah, right. Little Thompson
Okay.
Water District, yep.
All right. I mean, and I guess the next thing is if they say we need 200 houses and 250 houses in 10 years and all the developers are like, crap, we can't get water, nobody wants to sell their land, whatever. What the heck are we supposed to, I don't understand this at all. How are we as a town? We can't even get a developer to come and build a grocery store here because we don't have the population numbers. We can't, everybody wants us to make some retail place build out there on I-25. They want a Target, they want a whatever the heck it is. We can't make a developer do anything.
Yeah.
I don't understand this at all, Marcus. How in the hell? I don't care what our comp plan says something should be. If a developer doesn't come and say, I want to buy that and I want to put in all this shit ton of money and make this a development, we can't make them. How in the world does this work?
Not having a seat at the table.
Yeah, what? I don't understand. And maybe you can't answer that. I don't know. Maybe it's just a rhetorical question, but my mind is just blown that they somehow expect that we're supposed to make these things happen somehow.
And again, I just want to.
I know that's not what we're talking about right now.
Yep,
I get
that's
that,
true.
and I'm fully fine with
But also
accepting
the
Dr.
housing,
Fog's report,
the
but-
housing action plan is strategies that the town is going to adopt to help these things happen.
But they're asking for us, okay, so if we have to come up with a strategy to do something, and if we need to develop 200 houses and there's no developers coming here, then we have to somehow incentivize that by throwing our own town money at something to make that happen. That would be a strategy, right? To incentivize a developer to come here by offering them, I don't know, lower impact fees or whatever it be, right? Whatever we decide.
Right.
So basically it would come out of our pocket.
Well, that's one possible
Potentially do
action
that.
plan, but that's where a housing expert can help us. There's grants out there, there's CHAFA funds out there, there's as you pointed out, incentives, development incentives. Maybe there's incentives for a developer to provide a percentage of their housing development at these certain targeted AMI levels, and they get higher density bonuses. There's all sorts of strategies that communities will use, but that's where having a.
But ultimately, won't almost all of those strategies have to come out of the pockets, out of the budgets of the towns in one way, shape, or another?
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at American Furniture Warehouse, and Firestone got them by saying, okay, you get to keep your taxes for, I don't know, what was it, 7 years or something like that, saving them $7 million or something. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were. But basically, Firestone forewent all of that tax income in order to get them to come there.
Yeah.
That cost them $7 million. Yes, granted, I guess they got a great retailer and ultimately they will make money off of that. But we're a smaller town. I mean, like, I just don't see how this doesn't ultimately end up coming out of our pocketbooks.
It will, and maybe
Out of
I
our
can
budget.
offer another suggestion, because another strategy, and it's the town of Ignacio did it, in that they bought their own land, and then they had the seed of it. And now you can begin to do that development, because you can tell the developer what it is you want, when you want it, and how you want it. You are right in that initially there's some outlay of money from the town, whether we do it incentives, whether we buy our own land or whatever. But there are some other solutions.
Trustee Cartwright.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I can I just make this really simple. This is a plan. It's not a requirement. Is that true? I mean, we have to do this plan, but we don't have to produce 250 homes by 2028. We have to plan.
Yes.
For 250 homes for the next 50 years.
Yes, and that's the next step. right?
Okay,
That-
so what we're talking about now is Dr. Cog has put together all of this work for us and said, we have to come up with 250 homes in 50 years. we're done.
Yep.
We're done with part one.
Yes,
Part two is, how do we get those 250 homes here?
that's absolutely correct.
And if somebody doesn't want to come, we can't make them come.
Yes.
We can't incentivize them to come because we don't have the income. We throw our hands up and we say, please tell us what to do to get these 250 homes here. That's 3 years away. Let's look at it 3 years from now, or start looking at what we can do like that. Because right now we're just doing one single thing, and that is, are we going to accept what Dr. Cog says we have to do? That's our plan. We're done for 2 years.
You articulated that very well. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Adams, do you have any questions or comments?
No, that was very good discussion and, I'm good.
Trustee Hagan.
So you said there's a northern area, northern metro that they, it's kind of a question to you, that they designate they want 5,000 homes in or whatever. How is it allocated to Mead based on square miles within the town limit, or how is that allocation
Percentage of our population.
of current population?
I'm pretty sure, yes. What they did is they took the populations of all those communities in that region and allocated those numbers by the population.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it kind of back to what we were talking about on the funding of this, it is kind of an unfunded mandate at this point. I assume that if they actually want to put teeth to it, like start withholding state tax refunds or something, I don't know what we get from the state, that they'd have to provide funding for it if they're passing the law, forcing us to adopt it. Can they force us to actually come up with money that we don't have?
Well, there are grant of it,
DOLA has.
grant options.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They've got to fund it to us so that we
It
can
won't be
spend
100%
it back out.
funding.
No, it'll still end up coming out of our pocket at some point in time.
So it's whatever money you
I
can
thought
come out
that
of
was
our pocket.
I thought that was a legal term, unfunded mandate, that you could fight against it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a lot of unfunded mandates that have been adopted in the past few legislative sessions.
Okay.
And there's currently, you know, a lawsuit that's been filed by some of the larger home rule communities against the state on that very topic. So we'll see how that ultimately plays out.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to our proclamation. It's School Zone Safety Week, August 10th through the 17th. I would ask Mayor Pro Tem Harris to read the proclamation tonight.
Right. Proclamation for School Zone Safety Week, August 10th to August 17th, 2025. Whereas the town of Mead is a community that embraces and values safety, and whereas the end of summer is approaching and our children, grandchildren, friends, and neighbors are going back to school, making it more important than ever to practice safe driving in school zones. And whereas, according to a recent study by Safe Kids Worldwide, approximately 100 children in the United States are killed every year while walking to or from school, and 25,000 others sustain injuries because of school zone crashes. And whereas driving through a school zone can be dangerous for both pedestrians and drivers if safety isn't a priority. Avoid cell phones and distractions. Adjust your route to avoid school zones if possible. And whereas if you must drive through a school zone, give yourself extra time. Slow down when school zone flashers are blinking and stop and yield to pedestrians crossing the sidewalk or intersection. Whereas the town of Mead seeks to cultivate the importance of safe driving, encouraging drivers to always operate their vehicles with the utmost care and concern. Now, therefore, Colleen Whitlow, Mayor of the town of Mead, does hereby proclaim August 10th through August 17th, 2025 as School Zone Safety Week in the town of Mead, given under her hand and seal of the town of Mead, Colorado on this 11th day of August, 2025.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
I make a motion to approve the signing of the proclamation.
I second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Marisol.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
trustee Crane,
Yes.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris.
Yes.
Trustee Schran,
Yes.
trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Willow.
Yes. Thank you very much. Next is our first public comment. The board welcomes public comment at this time for any item on the agenda. We will take comments on items not on the agenda during the second public comment, item number 11. The board will listen to your comments and take them into consideration. All comments should be directed to the Board of Trustees and not to specific individuals. If you wish to speak during this first public comment period, please adhere to the town's general guidelines. Please start by stating your full name and address for the record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the Board of Trustees. If you are representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. We ask all speakers and audience members treat one another with respect and dignity. Let's ensure we maintain a welcoming environment and avoid any actions that could be distracting. Marisol, do we have anyone signed up for this public comment number 1?
Not for this one, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the Board of Trustees on an item that's on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to consent.
I'm assuming on the agenda tonight is the pay increases for special tonight. Am I correct?
You are correct, Mr. Smith.
But it's either the last meeting or the prior one where we just had a presentation by Mary, who's not here. That we were having a budget shortfall projected in next year. At the same time that we needed more money for the police during increasing the cost. So that we may need to do a tax increase, put it on the ballot. At the same time, we're spending $635,000 to roundabouts. The upgrade to concrete, which is asphalt. This pay increase, which would be 2%, 3%, 2% cost of living, 3% merit. I have no problem with that on the lower end people in the 60 to 80,000 range, but people that are in a much higher range, Mary's not here either. That's quite a bit of money. We take our manager here, 2%, 3% is 5%. That's $13,000. That'd bring it up to $270-something thousand. I have a real problem with that, and I'm sure that after this meeting, when I get on the social pages, because I thoroughly plan on posting this, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have a problem with this when we're talking about budget shortfall coming in this next year. So I think we really need to look at this hard before we start spending money when we're talking about budget shortfalls and throwing $635,000 at roundabouts at the same time. This is absurd to me that we're going around this circle talking about more money at the same time for people who already make a lot of money. The presentation, I'm so tired. The presentation last week about the pie chart up there about who brings all the capital in here and how the restaurants only bring in this little amount. And there's 10 places that bring in most of it. We all know who the one place is, and that's obviously Ritchie Brothers. If we didn't have that particular entity in this town could not afford the kind of money we pay our city manager. And now we're about to give it 2%, 3% increase across the board to the higher level people. This is outrageous, and I'm going to make sure that it gets posted and people understand it is outrageous. So anybody that votes for this, I will make sure that I post that too.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the Board of Trustees? Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda. The consent agenda contains items which are considered routine and are approved with one motion and vote. I want to recognize staff for putting together these items on the board and the board for reviewing them ahead of tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Schranz, Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Willow.
Yes. Thank you very much. And thank you for staff again for putting this together for us. We'll move on to our public hearing tonight. The next public hearing is the combined public hearing for AMK Annexation 2 regarding proposed annexation establishment of initial zoning and an annexation agreement. This public hearing was initially opened on May 27th, 2025 and continued to August 11th, which is today. I understand from staff report that there is a request to continue this public hearing until September 29th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. Do we have a motion to continue the public hearing to a date certain September 29th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at Mead Town Hall?
Can I just say so moved?
Yes.
I don't have that.
Yes. Thank you. Roll call, please, Marisol.
Trustee Strands,
Yes.
trustee Crane,
Yes.
trustee Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
trustee Adams,
Yes.
Mayor Willow.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on to our second public comment. We have no further business. So it brings us to this agenda item. This public comment, it was for any item, any items that are on the agenda or not. We will follow the same guidelines previously stated. I will call on individuals in the order which they have signed in. Again, I ask all speakers and audience members to treat one another with respect and dignity. Is there anyone, knowing that nobody's signed up, has anybody signed up for number 2?
Yes, ma'am. We have Adrian Sandoval.
Thank you. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustees, my name is Adrienne Sandoval. I'm a 5th generation Weld County kid, and I grew up right here in Mead, so I'm really excited about that. It's nice to be home. I am the Weld and Larimer County Field Representative for Congressman Gabe Evans, and I wanted to come and introduce myself, give you all one of my cards, and let you know that I'm here. My office is in Greeley. Happy to meet with you, talk with you, text with you. Any way you want to communicate. I don't do smoke signals very well, but I'll give it a whirl. Anyways, I'm happy to meet you all and happy to serve you. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks. And she's also the former mayor of Platteville.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the Board of Trustees on the agenda or not?
Okay, this isn't on the agenda. Going back to money and wasteful spending. This is the 3rd week in a row, and I reported this, I believe it's to you, Marisol. Can't remember. 3 weekends ago. Everybody knows I own the property just across from the rec center there. The sprinkler system turns on a Friday and is on all weekend through the night, 24 hours. It's been 3 weekends in a row. Water just goes down into the drain. I reported this. I don't know if it got transferred over to rec or whatever, but we're wasting money right down the drain while we got a water shortfall. So, you know, I bring these things up. Nobody does anything. Nobody changes it, but that's our taxpayer dollars that we're so short on. So maybe somebody will do something about it now.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the Board of Trustees tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll go to our election official reports by town trustees. Anybody would like to bring anything up? Go ahead.
As some of you may have known, my community had an event this past weekend. And I wanted to put a shout out to the staff because they helped me a considerable amount getting it all put together. Making sure the sprinklers didn't go off in the middle of a movie, all those kinds of things. So just my hats off to your staff for a job well done. Thank you.
Anything else? Trustee Adams, do you have anything to bring up?
No, I do not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to say that National Night Out was just a huge hit. It was well attended. It was wonderful. The entertainment was just so different, and it was so wonderful to see everyone. And our first outing of the summer was a true community event. So thank you, staff, for putting it together. Chief, Erica, your team did a great job. Lorelai, who's not here, thank her too. And Helen, thank you. It was a great turnout. But the weather was perfect, and and it was just fine. So I just wanted to say that, and for the record, that if you didn't go, you missed out on a great time. So thanks a lot. All right. Next is our executive session. Does somebody want to read all this? Okay, I will read it. We will move. Next on our agenda is the executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B and 24-6-4024E for conference with attorneys for the town for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions regarding case number 2024CV30250, the Shell matter, and for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators regarding the Shell matter. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Before we get a vote, I just want to make sure that the motion to go into executive session is for the two specific statutory sites that the mayor just referenced. So the motion to go into executive session would be pursuant to CRS 24-64024B and 24-64024E, both for conferences with the attorneys and for instructions to negotiators. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
trustee Schranz,
Yes.
trustee Hagan,
Yes.
trustee Crane,
Yes.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries. The time now is 7:21, and we will turn off the recording and adjourn to an executive session. We will restart the recording for the executive session when it begins. To all of those who are with us tonight here in this room and online, the only thing that's left after this executive session is adjournment. You can either stay on and wait for us to adjourn the meeting after that, or you can enjoy the rest of your evening with your friends and family. Time now is 8:31 and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Mayor Pro Tem Harris, Trustee Adams, Trustee Cartwright, Trustee Crane, Trustee Hagan, Trustee Schranz, our Town Manager Helen Mickelbrink, Town Attorney Marcus McCaskin, Town Attorney, I gave her up. Town Engineer, Public Works Director Erica Rasmussen, Robert Rogers, and Lori Strand. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive sessions believed that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to number 14, executive session action items. We had none, and we will move to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
trustee Adams,
He said yes.
trustee Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Schranz,
Yes.
trustee Hagan,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes, the August 11th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is now adjourned at 8:33. Thank you very much.